Welcome to the Find Your Why Wise Words of the Day, where myself and the lovely, delectable Marion Bevington,
Dr. Marion Bevington
joins me even to answer a why question of the day. And today's question is, why am I so jealous? But before we get into the question, I just want to say hello to the lovely Teresa. Hello, good ladies. You see how we've all gone rather posh today? Hello, good ladies. Love the video and the new friends. Yes. So what have I been doing today? Just before we go into this, I've been in North Nottingham with the North Nottingham business women. Yes, women in business. It was a really lovely event. And I was there with Riza, who is the PR to the stars. And I was with another lady called Sandra, Sheila. My brain's gone. It begins with S. I'll find out what she'll call in a minute. Who's talking about, when your business gets into trouble and how to get out of business and how to still start up, if you're in financial trouble. It was lovely. And there were some lovely ladies who were going to join the Live, Love, Laugh Lounge, which is the home of the wise women. And they were all saying, we've never done Facebook Live, because Maya was talking about doing Facebook Live. And so I just said, do you want to just come outside here? We'll just have a bit of a chat. And I put them on Facebook Live. And I was like, yeah, you've done that now. You can't use that as an excuse. You've done this before. And they're like, oh, my God. And then they were like, oh, I'm really glad you did that. And that's what we do at the Find Your Why Foundation. We get you in action. So you get traction. We get you in action, so you go, oh my gosh. So you don't have to not do that again. So yes, Teresa, yes, really lovely ladies are joining us. So the question again is, why am I so jealous? Each day we tackle a wise question. So Marion, what do you think about why am I so jealous? What's going on behind all this? When people are saying,
jealousy, there's quite a bandwidth of stuff, if you like, underneath jealousy. So because jealousy can be because it can kind of go from shoes to accent to job to boyfriend to clothes to there's loads of things, there's loads of different aspects that people can get jealous about. And I think generally, I don't really know, because it's not, fortunately, jealousy is not one of my biggies. I feel like I should have a little halo on. So I think most people sort of veer towards one area where they have jealousy issues, or one person or one thing. And generally what it is, it's about it's kind of about not being you, thinking that you're not enough, that something else, someone else, somewhere else is better than where you are, who you are, or what you are right now. And so it's a complete denial of the brilliance of yourself and the beauty of yourself and the uniqueness of yourself. But again, because of social programming, because of all of the society, the TV, the schools, the communities that we live in, because certain things are held up in such high esteem, that if that's not actually what you are, who you are, or where you are, that thing that's held in high esteem, then that's going to automatically make you feel less than. And if you feel less than because of something specific, every time you see that specific thing, it's going to make you feel, it's going to make you feel scared, or it's going to make you feel angry. It might make you feel left out. It might make you feel isolated. There's loads of things that can go on. But I think generally jealousy is seeing something outside of yourself as more important than whatever you've got to offer as a person.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree. Insecurity is one of them. I think that's the biggie really in jealousy, but it's not the only area, is it? But insecurity, as in comparing yourself to somebody else. I'm not as good as them. Why is he looking at her? Why is she looking at him? And I suppose that kind of goes back to the old tribe bits, really, doesn't it? Because, if you're going to be rejected, we talked about this before on a previous why question, didn't we? Why am I scared of being rejected? Well, if you're rejected and you get put outside the tribe, likelihood you're going to die.
Yeah.
So again, this base level, if that person likes somebody else, I'm going to be rejected. So I think that comes in there. But of course, if you're insecure, then that can come from, I've got a fear of losing this person. But then it's like, oh, I'm not good enough for this person. And honestly, I mean, the amount of people that we've worked with where, you know, particularly ladies, and men get jealous as well, by the way, it's not just women, but, you know, where the ladies are like absolutely fucking stunning. And you're like, well, is it? Well, what? Well, you know, he's winter shopping. He's not planning on doing anything. Look at you. Look at them. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, no,
yeah.
I've got a spot in my nose or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
And when it comes to looking at something that's perceived as a sexual attraction, it's a bit weird to say this because we like to think that we're in control. But there are specific, and I understand this even more because of the trauma work that I'm doing at the moment. There are certain energies that come into our field, and the animal instinct, which is 1,000,000 times quicker than the conscious human mind, the animal instinct kicks in. And one of them is when there's danger. If you see danger in your peripheral vision, you will instantly turn to look directly at it. That's the foveal vision we talked about the other day. Men looking at women, it's the same thing. You know that when they watch the arse go past. It literally is. They're disengaged from their conscious control, and from a man's the orientation of men as a sexual being who needs to reproduce to keep the species alive. That animal side of a man, you're on it. So it's, you know, you hear about what are those pheromones, or those things that are unseen, and you can't even smell pheromones apparently, but there is something that we do take the information through our noses. There's all this information that's coming at us that we're so unaware of with our conscious human mind that the animal knows about, and the animal is going to pay attention. And so if you do have a bloke and he looks at other women, basically it just means he's being normal. He's being absolutely what this animal is built for. And so in that way, it's kind of, it sort of messes with your head a little bit, doesn't it? Because we've got this thing in our human mind, haven't we? It's like property. If somebody is my property, then I don't want them to be anywhere else, or so you just, their attention is also your property. Tough. It's not that simple.
I've got a bit of a thing about this. I think that I think that men would, and this is general. You know, look, guys, help me out. I'm not a man. But I think that men get jealous of if their woman is manhandled. You know what I mean? Like if someone's touching the woman, you know, like put their arm around it. You know, it's kind of like, you know, get off my wife or get off my girlfriend. But I think it's like, yeah, get off my property. Yeah. So I think it's like if a woman was to have sex with another man, I think the man potentially would get jealous there. Whereas I think for a woman, yes, of course, I think that's there. But even for a woman, I think it's another level, which is it's like an emotional level. Well, he looked at her. He's not doing anything. You know what I mean? Well, I bet he's thinking about doing this and thinking about doing that. Or he liked a picture of this woman. How dare he? You know what I mean? I think for a woman, it's like if you're jealous, it tends to be on a really like just wacky level. That's the only way I'm going to put it. Which is like, you know, when he's looking at her, he's liked this picture, he's done this. It's like an emotional thing. I think we get jealous emotionally. He's thinking about somebody else. Whereas the blokes generally don't have so much of an issue with
it's funny you say that, because my experience was like that. The guy John that I lived with for 7 years, he was jealous, and I wasn't really. I mean, it bothered me if I thought he was doing things that I didn't know about. I didn't like dishonesty.
Yes.
There were a couple of situations that, like, he had 2 kids and he didn't tell me for a year, and I knew he had them because his mates had all talked about them. So stuff like that used to bother me, that he wasn't honest.
Yeah.
But like, he had loads of female friends, and it didn't even cross my mind that I should be jealous about them. Whereas with me, if I spoke to another man, he'd want to know, what did we talk about? Who is he? Where does he live? What does he do? And it'd be like bloody 20 questions. So for me, in that situation, it was actually the other way around. He was really jealous and he'd get really emotional about it. Whereas I was just bothered if I thought he was lying to me. And so I don't think it didn't feel like that was jealousy, really. That was, it was more about just open trust. That's what my issue was. It was trust. But I think, again, jealousy really hits on trust, doesn't it?
Oh, it's definitely. It's like, you know, you don't honour me. You're not being truthful. You know, where's your integrity? You know, you're being dishonest to me. You know, if you're doing that. You know, I've been in a situation, you know, with previous relationships. In fact, all of my relationships, you know, ended with my partner, my husband, you know, going with another woman. And I used to know before they did, actually. I know now in terms of my checking intuition. But actually, there was another part of this, which I think is where the jealousy comes in. So imagine, if we just talk about the insecurity at the minute, I mean, because some people are a bit paranoid android, by the way. They're paranoid about everything, so they're paranoid in terms of jealousy as well. But if we just talk about, this insecurity bit, you're insecure about you. So, you're going out there, you're with somebody, the minute that they sniff another direction or they're late, you make it into this. I remember one of the guys that I went out with in the 80s. This guy had followed me to Australia. He followed me to Australia, sold all of his businesses, all of his car, not just concrete, and flew out to Australia. And that still wasn't enough for me. Because when we came back from Australia, I was convinced he was having an affair, convinced he was doing this, because I didn't actually feel enough. And so everything he did, I remember he was late one evening. Before mobile phones, and in the space of about an hour, I'd gone from, oh my God, where is he? I hope he's okay. Through all the stages of, by the time he gets home, I'm going to murder him. So I'm worried for his safety, then I'm going to kill him. Then what is he doing? And I think by the time he got home an hour later, I'd got him married, moved to Australia with 3 kids. Because my creative mind went into overdrive about what he was doing and where he was and all the rest of it. And actually what had happened was one of his mates had ended up in hospital and they couldn't get to the phone because they were trying to get the mate to hospital because he cut his leg or something. It was something and nothing. But my insecurity, then of course every time he went out, I'm giving him a hard time, where are you, what are you doing, don't be late, you were late last time, what I was like last time. And inevitably he'd be late because, he wasn't his keeper. But then, I think I'm sure I drove them all the way. Because I was going on and on and on about it. I was giving them the hard time for something they weren't doing. Might as well bloody do it. Yeah. So it's like a huge kind of vicious circle. Certainly is. Cheryl Lewis has joined us. Hello, Cheryl, lovely. A wave and a thumbs up. How are you, love? So why do we get jealous? So we've talked about insecurity. Talked about, of course, a couple of paranoid android going on. Any other reasons? I mean, this innate kind of I don't want to lose what I've got.
Yes, I think it is definitely there's a fear of loss and a lack of trust. But I think actually, because everything that we do is a projection of something that's going on within us, so it's almost as if you're struggling with jealousy, then actually, for me, the healing is learning how to trust yourself. And from a spiritual perspective, trust is a heart thing. Although we say trust your gut energy is heavy and earthy and solid and material stuff, whereas heart energy is lighter and open and it's much more of a spiritual connection. And so, although trusting your gut to kind of know materially what you want or what's going on, but actually, trust really lives in the heart. And if you learn how to be heartfelt about yourself and you learn how to treat yourself really well, then that kind of automatically starts to ripple out to other people. And taking responsibility when it's needed for yourself, but also seeing where responsibility lies outside of you. My mum had there was a weird, I remember, and I know this happens with a lot of women. My mum had a boyfriend when she was first divorced, and they'd been together for a while. And they were kind of on and off because my mum was obviously she was emotionally in a really bad place at the time. And she found out that her boyfriend had started seeing somebody else. And I think they were split at the time. So we'd been taking this other woman out to dinner a couple of times. And when my mum found out, she went to the woman's house and tried to fight the woman. And she didn't actually approach him about it. She went to this other woman about it. And we didn't speak about it much afterwards, but she was absolutely adamant that it was this other woman's responsibility as a woman, not to do whatever she was doing. And she didn't put any responsibility on this guy. They ended up going back out together, and they actually were together until she died. So, it was a really strong relationship that they had. But I actually think that poor guy he just wanted a bit of female company and probably took the woman out for dinner a couple of times. And there's my mum, Raj. trying to kill her for taking her man when she wasn't even with him. So that's another thing that happens with jealousy, is that your perspective is really skewed, and you look in areas that have got absolutely nothing to do with you and absolutely nothing to do with the thing that is actually the problem for you as well. So I think when you are in an emotional state where jealousy is involved, it can really disrupt your sense of reality, of where your responsibilities lie, and again, the trust thing that's another key, isn't it?
Yeah. I think when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I would have probably been the same as your mother. I'd been, going and having a word. But I had a situation, a few years ago, when I was a bit older, and I actually said to the girl, I said, look, in fact, what had happened was the girl, Chippy and I were going out together, and then he saw this other girl, and I was kind of like, well, he made that decision anyway. We got back together, and then I heard that this girl was like going mental because he'd come back to me. I was like, it's a bit odd, but anyway. Threatening, and all these things. I remember we were in a pub one night. This was when I was still drinking, of course, many years ago. And I walked into the pub and I saw her, and Chippy saw her, and he was like, "Oh, should we go somewhere else?" I was like, "No, we'll just stay here." And he goes, "Wait," he said, "Please don't do anything." I said, "What on earth does he think I'm going to be doing, like?" So I said, "I'm just going to the toilet." So I walked straight round the bar, of course, to this girl, and I said, "Are you dead name?" Because I'm Cheryl, I'm Chippy's girlfriend. And she went, "Oh," and I said, "I believe you're looking for me. You want to do to me." And she just looked. So I said, "Well, you're here with your friends and I'm here on my own. So maybe we could have this conversation now." Do you know what I mean? And I said, "Because I don't really know why you're blaming me. At the end of the day, I never blamed you because you didn't know me. But he knew me. And actually we were, early in our relationship. So if I was blaming anybody, if I was blaming him, I'd be blaming him because I wouldn't blame you because you don't know me. So why are you blaming me or threatening me? Because if you've got a problem, let's have a conversation about it." And she's like, "Oh, no, it's all right. So, you just imagine, if you're in this emotional state and you go and try and have a conversation about it. Have a conversation with the person who can do about it to start. So I would say, if you are jealous and is jealous, let's have a quick look at what our lovely baby is saying. Cheryl's saying, "Yeah, it's amazing when you trust yourself." Absolutely, Cheryl. And Teresa, "Yes, Marion, get my business off the ground, seeing and success examples that I can't measure." Yeah, because it doesn't actually have to be jealous of another person, does it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, bubbling under the surface and feeling jealous of their success. Yes, of course, because again, this is where you come into this comparison.
Yes.
And actually, you can only do your best in this moment, right now. We've talked about this, in the last couple of weeks, haven't we? You can only deal with what's going on now. Are you putting in all the effort to? We know you are, because you can see your action. Are you sneaking in a bit of EastEnders, dead ends, or whatever, when you could be doing something else? Well, you need to have a look at yourself then, don't you? If you're doing everything you can, you're out there, you're trying to serve the people that you want to help, and looking at somebody else. Look, we live in a world of Facebook. Not many people put up on Facebook. "Oh, look at me, I'm having a shit day because I've done fuck all today, because I'm procrastinating and eating biscuits." You don't see many of those posts, especially the level of backlash, of course. So we invite people to be honest. So
yeah,
I won't be comparing myself to everybody else, because you never know what's going on behind those doors.
Not at all. And it serves nobody. It serves nobody for you to put somebody else as a status above yourself. It really doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve them. It doesn't serve you. But the thing that creates, for me, the thing that is the best way of serving is this, what I was saying about having a heartfelt relationship with yourself. It's about really learning how to love yourself, and not loving yourself in an arrogant way where, you're thinking of yourself as more superior, or not loving yourself in a way that has got something to do with, the idea that of separating or making or comparing or making a difference. But it's loving yourself just because you're you. There's nobody else like you. There's only one of you. So just get on with being you and really learning how to love the person that you are. Again, this is great. This is a great result of a lot of the work that we do, isn't it, Cheryl? When we do inner child work or we do past experience work, because you start to build a relationship with your younger self. And so any part of you that's traumatized and kind of locked into an old habit or an old pattern or an old younger self episode, when you learn how to love that, that's the beginning of a really, really deep inner healing process as well. And so really starting to understand that, you are unique, you are only human, and just, how can you improve your connection to yourself? How can you be more forgiving of yourself, more loving of yourself, more accepting of yourself? And the other thing that when I was talking about my mum, then one of the things that I said to her at the time was, but actually she's done you a favour because she's showing you that he can't be trusted. Get rid. You know what I mean? That was at the time. That was my view of it. Because if in a relationship, if you are jealous of somebody and they are doing stuff, then it's an education. It's information that you can make. Once you've got information, you can start to make choices. You can make decisions, and you can make choices based on what's actually really going on, rather than what you imagine is going on. In that case, for me, it was all. It's like, well, if you don't like it, if that's what he's doing, and that's what he's doing, and you don't like it, fabulous, move on.
Yeah. I'm looking at Teresa's comment there, and I'm thinking even more about that, because you can look at somebody, for example, in the close where we live, there's only a few houses, and the big house, at the top of the road, it's the one with the most land. It's got the double detached garage, and I remember when a couple moved in there with their family, we were like, oh my God, they're in a big house. You know what I mean? Oh, life must be brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And he turned out to be a guy who committed rape in the 80s, and he was living a lie, you know what I mean? Like, well, I'm not saying he was living a lie now, but he obviously got this big secret, you know what I mean? And so for all the big houses and the flash cars and whatever, it was like his life was like, like he didn't sleep very often. He was hiding the secret. He came out, obviously. That's why we know all about it now. But, I work with a lot of clients, that from the outside, living in great places, great houses, and they're emotionally screwed, just like us.
True as well, the people who talk about it are not doing it. When it comes to sex, I think that used to be true. When you're actually doing something in your life, or you're being something and you're enjoying it, you don't need to talk about it. People will either ask you about it, or it's kind of you just give out really positive vibes from yourself. So when people have to put on a show, and when people have to make out that their car's bigger or their house is bigger, or all of those things where this external appearance is so important, generally it's because you're really hiding a whole load of shit behind it, or insecurity and all sorts of stuff going on behind it as well. Really, really happy people, if you're really happy, you don't need much. You really don't, because your happiness is fulfilling. It fulfills you, so you've got no gaps that you need filling in.
Yeah, well, it's like when I used to distract, alcohol, shoes, got more clothes than any of the local bloody clothes places here. And still interesting, now that I've stopped drinking, 3 years ago, nearly, in June, when I'm tidying stuff out of the garage, I'll go, oh, what's in here? And it's like clothes. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember buying all this. I hardly ever worn them, because it was just a distraction. So we can be jealous about people. We can be jealous about what they've got. We can be jealous about the life that we think that they've got. But ultimately, you have no idea what is really going on with somebody else. And so if you can start to just think about what it is that you've got. So let's go back to a relationship, because it's quite an easy one to your partner has done X, Y, or Z. So you keep focusing on what he's done or what she's done, and you keep talking about it, and it keeps going round in your head, and you're creating your own dead enders omnibus edition about what's going on. So the question is, how do you think that feels in the body? Oh, I sound like Marion. How does that feel in the body now? When you've got all these negative thoughts going on in your head, you're creating all these scenarios that are not really based on anything. Maybe a gut instinct, maybe intuition, who knows? But if you can change that and start to look at what's great about your relationship, or if you can change that by having a conversation with the other half, if you like, by saying, when this happens, my sense of it is this, is that really your intention? Because when you say out the feeling I get, because you have to own that feeling, it isn't theirs, it's yours. The feeling that I get is that, I start to feel a little bit paranoid, and I get scared because actually I really like being with you. And I'm worried that, the relationship's ending. Is that the intention? Is that why you stay out late? I bet you down to the penny, he's not going to say, yeah, it is actually. But even if, you've got to have these conversations. And Julie and I were interviewed by the lovely John Vignesh, who's our runner-up of the Man Cave, actually the third place now, Man of the Year, Downs Man of the Year, and his lovely wife, Rev. And we were talking, we're in a book that's called Vowed to Succeed, and it's about power couples. And I said to Chippy, look, this is the first time that you've kind of been on anything like this with me. I'm really open. So if there's anything you don't want me to say, you're going to have to start giving me the old elbow, do you know what I mean? Or kicking me under the table. Because I just go, do you know what, have this, because we've been together 23 years, and I'm telling you, we could write a fucking book on our own, do you know what I mean? And so at the end of the interview, when we talked about, Chippy's infidelity, and how we coped with that, it was all about communication. We had to speak to each other. But also for me, it was about the fact that at that stage, I didn't believe I was enough. So I was giving these vibes out of not being enough. And at the end of the interview, they said, oh, wow, what a refreshing change. Because everybody who's been on here is like kind of all loved up and no problems and, oh, he sends this, he sends me that. I'm like, for me, that's not the real world. For me, that's not the real world. So hopefully we can help other couples, help other people that do get jealous. I was insanely jealous. Insanely jealous. And I know that was probably a bit of a learned behaviour thrown in there. But, basically it was because I just didn't think I was enough. And it stemmed from, being alone as a child. And I know that looking back now, it was all very logical. But the 5-year-old in me is like, don't leave me. I was left alone. And that's the stuff, and that's the work that Marion did with me to help me to understand that actually I can look after that 5-year-old now. I don't need anybody else. I choose to be with my husband because I love him, and because when I'm with him, I like to feel the way that I feel most of the time. Because there are still times when we have arguments and disagreements because we're humans and we're not the same. So, but I know enough, and I've gone from being insanely jealous and not even knowing, not even allowing him this is my property, allowing him to go out, for an hour without me knowing exactly where he is and him phoning me. We can go back maybe 10, 15 years. So actually, I don't know his address where he lives now. He lives in another country. He could have 14 wives for all I know. But I know I'm enough for him. I have a good sense of who I am. And, it's good, it works for us. So it's about, communication, just really being realistic, looking at pointers and having that conversation and the confidence in yourself. What else would you say, Asper, in terms of what can you do if you are jealous? What's some of the steps that you can take?
I mean, really, I think it's for me, the foundation of it is about you loving yourself.
Yeah.
And if somebody's not treating you right, tell them that they're not treating you right. Tell them what it is that you don't like about the treatment, how you feel, and then make a choice. Do you want to stick around or not? But it's about respecting yourself. It's about loving yourself. It's about forgiving yourself, being kind to yourself. The more we do that, the more you are kind to you, the more you love you, the more you automatically become kind and love others as well. And so, you can become more forgiving, not forgiving enough that you become a doormat, because your loving for yourself is more important than for anybody else.
Yeah.
So while you're really respecting and loving yourself, then you're going to accept anybody into your life who treats you really well and supports you. And if they don't, then you don't need to take what they're doing personally, but you don't need to be a doormat either. You need to look after you. So for me, it's the key really is about how, improve the relationship that you've got with yourself, learn how to love yourself. It's a big one, though. That's a really big ask for most of us because, we're told self-love is arrogant and selfish and all of these things, and it's labelled really badly. And my understanding of why that happens is, again, to do with this idea of external authorities. So we're told by teachers, by politicians, by priests, by all these authoritarian figures that they're in charge of us. And I think that just adds into that soup of, lacking in self-respect, lacking in self-esteem. When you start to regain that self-respect and regain that self-esteem, and I think it would automatically impact all of the relationships that you have anyway.
Yeah, and you're right. I think the relationship with yourself has got to be the primary one because, look, you're going to be better than anybody else. You know all your thoughts. And of course, the words that you say to yourself, no, why are they doing this? Why am I not good enough? Change the language, because your little mini Google goes up and finds you millions of examples of, to answer that question. So if it's like, so it's kind of like, so how am I so amazing? How can I love myself more? How can I, it's so positive, then that really does make a difference. Ladies, before we leave, have you got any questions that you want to ask us in terms of, if you're happy to share, if you want to share some experiences that you've had, please share and let us know. The question of the day, of course, is, why am I so jealous? So we've talked about the insecurity, maybe a bit of paranoia, maybe a really good storyteller. I was watching Gary Vee the other week, and he talked about how everybody believes that their shit is the most important shit. This is true, of course. And he was saying that, some guys come into his office and say, oh my God, because my parents gave me £10 million, that's really screwed me over. Because, I just expect everything to be given to me in life. And then the next person could come in and say, oh, because my parents were poor, that's why I've never really, been able to value myself. Like, everybody's got shit, right? And so in terms of jealousy, it's kind of like, you are who you are enough. Being able to just keep telling yourself that all the time is a really good place to start. I am enough. And if this person doesn't respect me, doesn't want to be with me, then they're not going to be with you. Why people would stay in a relationship where I don't want to be, everybody, but it is true that some people do, but if you've got a feeling like this stuff isn't good, what's everything in life? Job, friends, where you live, you're no longer enjoying the experience. It's like you're going to places that will the ability to do that. That's my point. Okay, so nothing more from our ladies. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for joining in and doing the things that they're laughing. I can see a lot of laughing in the things that they have. And if you're watching some of the films, please comment below when you're joining us. And so we're going to say the continue for now, and we will have another wise question for those today. If you have a why question that you would like answering, please pop it in the chat box. Or put on it if you want to, and we'll get back to it. So it is good evening from me.
And it's good evening from her. Good night.
Remember to live, love, laugh every day. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.